Welcome to this usability test, and thank you very much for helping out today.
You're welcome.
So we've scheduled the session to run for about 60 minutes. And before we start, I'll just quickly explain the setup and how the session works.
Okay.
So today I'm responsible for conducting some customer research for an airline website. And we're trying to identify some issues that could be fixed to make the website easier to use. To do that, we're talking to people like you, and based on your feedback, we're hoping to kind of pinpoint areas for improvement that we can eventually fix. So I'll explain the setup. So I'll be asking you questions and talking to you throughout the tests. As you can see, we do have a camera and a microphone to record what you do. We are just recording this session for note-taking purposes, and the footage will only be seen within the team. Are you okay with being recorded?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So the session will be divided into two parts. I'll first ask you some questions just about your general experience with booking flights, and then I'll ask you to perform a few tasks on airline websites and ask you questions as I go. So throughout the test, just a few things to keep in mind. We do call it a usability test, but it's important to know that we're not testing you, we're testing the website. There's no right or wrong answers, there's no trick questions, and we're not trying to catch you out at all. If you do come across problems, it's not your fault, it's the software's fault, and the more problems, the more we can fix and the better the website will eventually be. If possible, could you also be as candid as possible?
Yes, yeah.
If you don't like something or you just think it's silly, please say so. I've not been involved with any of the design of these websites, so you won't hurt my feelings at all.
Okay.
And when we get to the tasks, as you navigate around the website, if you can just verbalize what's going through your head. So if you're thinking about clicking on a button, say, I'm going to click here because I think it's going to take me to the next page, or I'm looking around the screen for the price. We really want you to think out loud, as it helps us write better notes.
Okay.
If you could also approach things slightly slower than you normally would, that would be helpful. If you work around the site too fast, we're just not able to take notes quick enough. I'll remind you to think aloud throughout and to slow down if needed throughout the session. Finally, please feel free to ask any questions you like. It's a great way for us to understand your thoughts, but in order to keep the test as real as possible, I may not always be able to answer your questions. Do you have any questions before we begin?
Am I going on to the Google site myself, or are you going to guide me on that?
So you will be going on to the website and working through the process yourself, but I will be giving you information relating to the task that we're wanting you to do when we get here.
Thank you.
That's okay. So before we start using the website and doing the tasks, I just want to ask you some simple background questions, if that's okay. First of all, what is your occupation?
I'm a registered nurse.
Great. And how do you normally access the internet?
I normally access it just when I come home. I've got an Apple, and I would just go onto Google and access things that way.
Great. So you use your laptop to?
Yes.
And do you have access? You do have access to internet
at home? I've got internet
then?
access at home, yeah.
And do you use any apps on your smartphone? Do you use the internet on that at all?
I use the internet on my smartphone, but I go through Google for that too. And I have quite a few different apps for different things.
What sort of apps would you say you have?
I've got bank apps from my bank, banks from a credit card. Sorry, apps from my credit card. I have got apps for my work annual leave. And I've got apps for Keep Fit.
And do you use travel apps at all, or is that?
Oh, I've got one travel app. It's a Ryanair travel app.
That's great. And moving on to some more travel related questions. What sort of traveling do you typically do?
Throughout the year, I quite often go to different places, whether it be in Britain or Europe. And every year I travel to Greece around the end, last week in June and the first week in July.
Great. And how do you normally book those flights?
I would normally book the flights to Greece. I look between Ryanair and Jet2 because I prefer to travel directly from Edinburgh. Occasionally I've travelled via London, but I find it all very difficult to navigate, like organising the flights from Edinburgh to a different place and then a different place to Greece and back again. I find that quite difficult. I'd rather have a direct flight.
Yeah. Do you use aggregator websites such as Expedia or Skyscanner at all to look at flights?
I have used Skyscanner, and I like Skyscanner. However, I find that difficult because I don't know how to add the baggage on when I'm booking through Skyscanner.
Right. So out of the two, do you think which would you most likely be booking through? Do you think directly with the airline or through an aggregate?
I would book directly through the airline simply because I can add the luggage and any extras on at the time. I'm not able to do that. We need to learn to do that using what did you call the site?
Aggregator.
An aggregator site.
That's fine. So if you could describe for me the last time, or it could be any time really, that you booked a flight online, if you could just describe the scenario, where you were traveling to, and just really when and why did you make that decision to travel?
So the last time I travelled abroad was in September, and I travelled to Corfu in Greece. I booked the flight through Ryanair, and it was a direct flight from Edinburgh to Corfu. And the only reason I used that flight is because it does go directly from Edinburgh to Corfu and at decent times in the day for going there and getting back.
So is time important to you when booking flights, or is there other kind of factors such as price or dates?
Usually time and the price.
Great, thank you. And how did you come to choosing that destination and the dates? Was it just that it's somewhere that you always go, or was it a new location, and did you have specific dates in mind? Or
to be honest, it's a location I go to. I've started going back to every year at the same time, and the reason I go at the same time of the year is because I meet people from all over the world that I used to meet when I travelled in my 20s.
Great. And when you were booking those flights, did you compare prices at all, or did you just go to the one kind of airline and book through that?
No, I did a lot of comparing of prices before I made the final decision to go from Edinburgh.
And do you remember what airlines you compared for that?
I compared British Airways, I compared Jet2, Ryanair, EasyJet, and it's a Greek airline, Aegean.
Okay. And did you just get the prices directly from their websites, or did you use, say, your Skyscanner to find these?
I used Skyscanner initially because it gives you all the different airlines. And when I decided I might investigate further with, investigate the flights further, and then went on to their actual website.
And were you traveling alone, or were there others traveling with you?
There was others traveling with me.
And how many other people were with you there?
Two.
So did you book for everybody, or did you just book for yourself and they booked?
I booked for everybody.
And when you were arranging the flights with your other travellers, how did you go about that? What communications kind of took place between you? Like, what did you discuss? How did you share the information?
So we have a WhatsApp, and I contacted them on WhatsApp to see, did they want me to book for them? And it's my brother and his wife, and they said yes, that we'd like to do that. And I ended up booking through Ryanair. So they have all their details on the app. And but we did have a lot of discussion around bags and baggage and what was the best way to book each individual onto the flight, and the cost of those bags, and basically what was the best way and the cheapest way to get a flight.
So on the WhatsApp group, did you just kind of share screenshots, or did you mainly speak to them in person about it? And
both methods.
Great. That's brilliant. Well, that's the end of the kind of questions. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And we're moving on to the tasks. So there is a notepad there if you do want to make any notes.
Okay, thank you.
So for task 1, we're going to use EasyJet as the airline. And for the purposes of this test, we'll assume the following.
Okay.
You live in Edinburgh and you're planning a city break. You think Amsterdam in the Netherlands could be the place for you.
Okay.
You'd like to travel towards the end of March, and your first choice is to fly out on a Saturday.
End of March on Saturday.
So what we want you to do is visit the EasyJet website, book a flight from Edinburgh to Amsterdam, depart on a Saturday towards the end of March, return 3 days later. And for 2 people. And yeah, if you could just show me what you would do to go ahead and book that.
So I would bring up the Google site on the laptop, and then I would type in, sorry, I'm looking at my notes as well.
Don't worry.
EasyJet, and go down to, put flights into. Then I go down to EasyJet flights from Edinburgh. Click on that. And then click on the EasyJet.com site. So I'm kind of stuck here at the moment. Hang on 1 minute.
So what do you see on this page? What were you expecting to see?
I was expecting a logo immediately with flights and the departure, and where I was departing from and where I was going to, but that hasn't come up. It's just got why go to Edinburgh. So I'm thinking I've not entered that properly in the Google box.
So how do you think you would proceed there?
I would go back. Would I go back?
If that's what you...
Yeah, I would go back, and then I would put EasyJet flights from Edinburgh to Amsterdam. And see if that helps. And I'm going on to Edinburgh to Amsterdam cheap flights. Oh dear, I've made it worse. Sorry.
Right, what I'm going to suggest is that you type in easyjet.com just into the top there.
Okay.
Into the web browser.
Okay, thank you. So I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, it's not a problem.
So just easyjet.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's worked. Thank you.
So is that what you were expecting?
This is exactly what I was expecting. Yeah. So just easyjet.com. So I'm now looking at EasyJet flights, and I want it to be both ways, so I don't tick that box. And it's Edinburgh to Amsterdam. Type in Amsterdam, Netherlands. And I'm going into the departure box. And we said end of March and a Saturday. So I think I would go for the 26th of March. And we said around 3 days later, it should be 1, 2, 3, returning on the 29th. So and then show flights.
So just to remind you that it's 2 adults. That
Oh yes, right. So I need to add an adult and then show flights. Okay.
So what do you see on this page? If you can just kind of speak through.
So
the
what I
options.
see is the outbound flight, and on the it's gone. I asked for the Saturday, but it's gone to the Sunday because that's the cheapest fare. So, however, I would want to go from the Saturday because that's the day I need to go.
And do you like that it shows you the fact that it's the cheaper fares on a different day? Or
I do like that because it gives you the option that if you can go on a different day, you could take that offer up. And what I can also see are 3 days. I clicked on a Tuesday, but I can see the day before and the day after, and the cost of the flights and the times of flights coming back then, which also gives me an option if I wanted to come back earlier or stay a day later. I think that's a good thing.
Yep.
So I'm going to go into the Saturday because that's the day I wanted to fly. And I'm going to come back. Both flights are the same price, but I'm going to come back on the later flight because it gives me more time in Amsterdam. So I'm coming back on instead of 1:10 in the afternoon, I'm going to come back at 6:30 in the evening. I prefer to do that.
That's fine. And just looking kind of further down the page, there, do you understand what's being presented there?
I can see that further down the page there are actual hotels added to this. However, I can see it does. Initially, when I look at it, it doesn't tell me that it includes the flights, but when I scroll up the page, it does tell me that it includes flights, the hotel, the flights, and the bags. So that's a good option too, if that's something you're looking for.
Okay, so how would you proceed from here?
So I would proceed by scrolling. Hang on 1 minute. I would scroll down the page. It doesn't say continue. So on the right hand side or above the information that I'm seeing, I can hit continue. So I would continue. It's okay to continue?
Yeah.
Hit continue. And then I now have the option of 3 kind of baggage allowances. One being standard, which is just a seat, a small one that you take and put under your seat. The standard plus, which is one that is maybe it's a large cabin bag. And because I was only going away for 3 days, that would be my option because I don't need one that I can put under my seat and a 23 kilogram bag. So for this journey, I would add the standard plus, but if I was going on a longer journey, I would add the essentials.
And yeah.
So I'll add that to the cost. Now what I'm looking at is going immediately to if I would wish to pick a seat. And I'm not sure that you can avoid that completely, actually. Oh no, it does say it's optional.
Was that something that was included in your fare?
Not in this fare, it's not. I would like it to be included in the fare though, because I think if I was traveling just with 1 or 2 people, I'd be quite like to be near them so that I can chat on the flight. I think I will choose a seat, and in fact it's actually chosen it for me.
And would you be happy with those ones, or do you have a preference about where you sit? And
well, I don't really want to pay extra money, so I'm happy with those 2 seats.
Yeah. And is all the information kind of clear on there about just about what's included with those seats, like where, like like the cabin bags and.
Yes, it is. It's included. Yeah, it's included. So I would, and I'll also like the fact that if you wished to upgrade for extra legroom, it tells you what is included in that too. So I like that.
And is this just for your outbound flight, or is this your return as well? Just.
I think that is just. Do you know? I'm not actually sure.
Yes. Okay. Just.
Let me have a look. I think that's just for the outbound flight. So I'm going to hit continue. And for the inbound flight, they've done exactly the same. And it's not costing anything extra. And I'm happy with the seats as well in that. I'll just hit continue. It's now asking me if I would like more cabin bags. I like the fact that it's asking me that, and that I can actually just hit continue and just carry on with booking the flight. Or because it's saying, I think it's telling me that there's a small bag under my seat and a cabin bag included. I'll look to the side and it does. So I'm happy with that.
Yep.
I do not need any hold luggage or sports equipment, but I like the fact that it's given me the options. It's given me 3 different options of a 15 kilo, a 23 and a 26. And I like that because should you go skiing, you can add sports equipment. Should you want to take a bike, you can do that. But if you only wanted to take a little extra luggage with you, you can book a 15 kilo bag rather than a 26. And the cost is good as well.
And if you were adding a bag, do you feel confident that you could do that easily on this page?
I do, yeah.
So just even if you're not going to add a bag, how would you go ahead and do that?
So I would add a 15 kilogram bag, and I would hit the plus sign, and that would take me to 1. And then I would just hit continue, and that would be added to both my flights.
Just for the purposes of this task, just keep that.
Keep doing continue. That.
Yeah.
So that has been added to both of my flights. Now I'm being offered car hire, and I wouldn't choose to take car hire from the airline companies. I would rather investigate myself and do a good search through different companies to look for car hire.
And how do you feel about all these options being presented to you, like all the extras, like the baggage and the car?
To be honest, I don't mind, because I just skip through them. But I think for somebody that's perhaps elderly or who doesn't have a good enough knowledge of how to use the internet, I think it can be very confusing. Okay. But for purposes of this, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to skip.
Yeah, just whatever you would.
Yeah, so I would skip. And I've now got a food and drink voucher, which I would skip as well. So I'm going to skip that.
And do you think, oh, sorry, you've just gone off of that. Did you see anything about that? Sorry.
No, I didn't.
That's okay. I was going to ask a question, but just
I can
continue.
Go back.
No, it's fine. Just continue on this page.
Okay, so it's now asking me for travel insurance, which is a good option, because if you don't have it, you know, it's good that it brings it up because it reminds you that you need holiday insurance. However, I don't need insurance because I have a comprehensive insurance with my bank account. So I'm going to hit I don't need insurance.
That's fine. That's great. And that's the end of that test. So just a few questions. Overall, what did you think of that experience?
At the beginning, I felt like I was kind of stumbling a bit because I couldn't get the right information I wanted to, and you kind of helped me with that. But when I got the right information, was on the right track, I felt like it was easy to navigate. And as I say, that I'm perfectly capable of skipping the things that I don't need. But there are pros and cons, because having the insurance on it, I think, is a good thing to remind people they need insurance for their holiday. But having things like car hire, or do you want food, I feel that that's that's manipulative, because people are able to make their own decisions about whether they need car hire or whether they need food.
Okay. And was there anything that you particularly liked or disliked about the process? You've maybe answered a few of these already, but
I liked the fact that it gave me options the day before and the day after I had chosen to travel. I think that's good.
And was there anything that you expected to see but you did not?
I suppose when I initially went into it and I did put EasyJet flights in, I expected that flight page just to come up initially, and it didn't. So I did expect that to happen right away.
Yeah. And was there anything that you were surprised to see?
No.
Okay, that's great. So we've finished task 1.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to task 2, we are moving to British Airways.
Mm-hmm.
So for the purposes of this test,
Mm-hmm.
we will assume the following: that you live in London.
I'm writing this down, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. British Airways, London. Mm-hmm.
And you're planning another city break, and you think Paris in France would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, you'd like to travel towards the end of March, and your first choice is to fly out on a Saturday.
Okay.
So just once again, what we want you to do is to visit the British Airways website,
Mm-hmm.
book a flight from any London airport to any Paris airport.
Oh.
That's okay if you I'll just close, sorry. There we go, sorry.
Thank you.
So, oh, apologies, I need to share the screen on Zoom. There we go.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so just once again, I'll run through that again. So we want to visit the British Airways website. We want to book a flight from any London airport to any Paris airport return. We want to depart on a Saturday towards the end of March, and we'll want to return 3 days later for 2 people again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, please show me what you would do.
So apologies for that
Not
too.
It's okay.
So I go in here to
just whatever you think.
To Google, and I type in British Airways. Okay. So BritishAirways.com book flights. So on this, I've got the option to just book flight and hotel, or flight in car.
Just close. If you just click off of that, that would be helpful.
Just click.
Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry, I'm not.
No, it's okay. That's this website.
Okay. So I'm just going to go with the flights.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going from London. Now it's coming up with all airports, Gatwick, London City, but I'm going to go to all airports because it means I can look at the choice of pricing and things like that. To Paris.
And just quickly before we fill in the rest of the form. Overall, what do you see on the home page? So if you want to kind of scroll back up, sorry.
It's okay.
If you can just explain a little bit what you see there.
So what I'm seeing is the British Airways logo and just discover, book, manage. And because I've asked, well, I just actually put in British Airways and it's come up with flights, flight and hotel, a flight in a car. It's also given me some advice around COVID-19 too. And I can find out more if I need to.
That's it. So yeah, sorry, apologies
okay.
if you just want to continue what you were.
That's okay. So I'm going to just put Paris all as well for booking flights to Paris. But I believe Charles de Gaulle is nearest Paris.
And is that something that you would be your preference?
That would be my preference. And I would fly. I've put in all airports from London, but should one come up at a decent price that's nearest me, I would have obviously go for that one too. So I'm going to add it. So I've got outbound on the, I'm going to March. Right, I'm doing something wrong because it's going from February to April.
That's okay. If you want instead, if you just want to choose.
So I'll choose the Saturday, the 2nd of April.
Yeah.
And I'll come back on the 5th of April.
And when you were selecting those dates, do you like the fact that you can pick the date, that you select the dates, or would you, you've obviously not got the option here, but would you prefer to type them in, or?
No, I quite like using the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the calendar because on different websites, they use different formats for the dates if you're typing it in, and that can become confusing. So I think it's easier to click on the calendar. I'm going to add another passenger there because I'm looking for 2. And I do want to travel economy class, so I'll leave that. And then I'm going to hit the search button.
And was all that information in that form clear to you?
That was clear to me, yeah.
So if you can just explain kind of what you see on this page as well.
So I can see initially that the date I would like to leave and the cost. And once again, it's very good because it's got 3 days before and 3 days after. It has different price ranges. So if I had the option to fly, I could actually fly cheaper. So I like that. I like that very much. And it's given me lots of different departures on this initial page I'm looking at from Heathrow, which is where I would choose to fly from. And it's also given me the economy price and the price of a business class flight too.
Is there any reason you would prefer to fly from Heathrow?
Because it's near where I would live.
Okay. Yep.
And in fact, it's all London Heathrow flights. So that's fair enough. So that's good. So it must be that. So I would need to choose a flight. And I think I would choose the early morning flight because I have more time in Paris.
So that would be what you would go for first is the time rather than.
Yes. Yeah.
And how do you feel about the price of those flights as well?
I think it's, well, that's just one flight. And I suppose I need to, it's an economy basic flight. And it means I have hand baggage only. So, and that's okay because it's just a short journey. So I would select that hand baggage flight only.
And if it just quickly, are you able to just describe what's included in the other fares as well?
Yeah, so in the flight that I would book, because I'm only away for a few days and we take hand baggage, you're allocated seats, so you have to pay to choose. I get hand baggage only and a contoured leather seat. However, in Economy Plus, I would have a seat choice plus 23 kilograms of luggage and a leather seat. and it is only £14 more. So actually that would definitely be the better choice if I was going away for a few more days, because it's only £14. And other airlines would charge you that anyway, sometimes, just to book a seat, and they certainly charge you a lot more for a 23-kilogram bag. So that's actually very good. And the business class is a business class seat, obviously. They're guaranteed a window or an aisle seat. You get 2 lots. You get £70 of checked baggage allowance, which is huge. And however, it is £400 more. So that is cost restrictive to me, but it might not be for somebody who's traveling maybe to another country and needs lots of luggage, etc., and gets good seats.
So if you can just continue and just what you would do next, naturally.
Okay. So I would then select the economy basic flight for going out, and then and what I'm looking at now is the flight back from Paris to London. And for this flight, I would prefer to choose the kind of last flight of the day, if you like, and there is only £2 difference in the price throughout the day. So I would choose that one because it gives me more time in Paris, just like I did the last flight. So I would choose that one. But also it's shown me here is the difference in price depending on what day I came back, and it reduces in price.
And just before we move on, do you understand what these flight details links are?
I know that I can hit the flight details and it will tell me exactly where it's going, the times, what kind of plane is going to be used, and the duration. I'm not so sure about what economy selling class Q means or business selling class I means. I'm not sure about that at all.
Do you find that useful to have, though, the additional flight information?
I do find it useful because I like to know the terminals that I'm either going into or out of, because I think should you have somebody meeting you at either end, you can see what terminal they will meet you, because these airports have a few terminals.
Okay. And so if you just want to continue, as you would.
So I'll go to economy again, and as the flight going into Paris, it's giving me economy basic, economy plus, and business class, but I would go with the economy basic.
Again, if you just want to just kind of go over what's available with each of the different fares, is it the same as you had for your out?
It's the same as it was in outgoing, in that you are allowed extra baggage on the economy plus, but even double that on the business class. And in fact, there's an extra thing in the business class saying that there's fast track security to help you speed through the airport, which is not available in economy plus. Other than that, it's the same.
Okay.
So I would press the select button for the economy basic, and now they're calculating the price.
And do you find that helpful, that it's showing you what's happening?
Yeah. Now it's telling me that there's essential information to enter England from overseas, and that I must fill in a passenger locator form up to 48 hours before I arrive back in England, which is good because it's giving me a link to fill in the passenger locator form, and I think that's good.
And do you think that's a good reminder? For example, if it wasn't there, you might forget to.
Well, I think it's good that it's there. It definitely reminds you, a bit like the insurance in the last task, but that's reminding you that you have to do that before you come back into England.
And in terms of the other information in that box, is everything clear about the kind of COVID procedure about returning to the UK?
It is, if you hit, it is, because it's asking you if you have visited any red list areas. It's not asking you though if you to do anything if you've been to any other areas. So there might it might be useful to have a link on current COVID policies for coming into Britain at the moment. But it's very good in that it's asking you to, if you've been in the red list, it's going to tell you what's happened, and that you will have to book into a quarantine hotel if you have visited a country on the red list. No, it's very good.
Fine, if you just want to continue.
So I'm hitting I understand to say I understand that information. And now it's giving me a price.
Apologies.
So now it's reviewing my flights, and it means it means before you're going on to pay for anything, you're reviewing it and you're making sure that everything's right. And actually on here, it's telling me what terminal it is as well. So that's very good. It's telling me I have no checked baggage, which I knew about. And
if you just go back up quickly, these kind of promotions here. So do you understand what these are? We'll start off with the apply an e-voucher. Is that clear to you what that would?
No, that's not clear at all.
What do you think it would, if you had an e-voucher, what do you think it would?
I don't even know what an e-voucher is.
Okay. And are you clear about the second one down?
It says save with Avios, and I'm not clear about that at all. It's telling me I can reduce my flight price up to £180. Now I might decide to log into that, but I'm a skeptical person and wouldn't log into it because I think, no, I've made my mind up about the price and what I'm paying for the flight. So I wouldn't even go into that because I would always be worried there was something else involved in that.
Yeah. And in terms of all the kind of, you've maybe covered this, but in terms of all the flight information, everything's clear to you there. There's nothing you feel's missing.
No, I don't think there's anything missing for me.
Yeah.
So I would then carry on down, and it's telling me about, again, there's more fare options, you know, about choosing seats for a price, lots of different things like that. But I'm just going to stay with my economy basic that I've selected.
And do you find that useful to have that there just shown as a breakdown, showing you what's included?
I do actually. I do find it useful. I do, because for instance, there's a thing there that says change flights on day of travel. And if I booked Economy Plus, it would tell me that it's free until 1 hour before departure. And it's only costing you £14 per person each way. And I think that's quite a reasonable price for having that option, actually, especially at the moment with COVID restrictions and things like that as well. So I might actually choose to take that option just because of that.
And was that information clear to you when you were looking at the?
Initially?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
So I'm going to actually hit that. But now it's asking me to change my flights. No, it's not. And then I'm going to hit it again for Paris to London so that I have the option both ways in case I had to change the flight, because I do feel that now is important, but I didn't realise that at the time earlier on. So I've hit selected for that, and that will add that price to it. It's now asking me if I want to have a room, which is good. It's giving you an option, but that doesn't interest me at all. So do I just carry on?
Yeah, carry on if that's what you would.
Yeah, I would just carry on.
Just if you go back up again, there's the option for the car hire.
Oh, there's an option for the car hire.
Again,
yeah.
Would that be something that you find?
No, because I like to investigate and look for my own car hire too.
And how do you find their kind of placement on the page? Do you think they?
I think it makes sense because you've booked your flight and they're saying, you know, you can organise your trip by booking a room and having a hired car as well. And that is actually, for me, that's fair enough, because it might actually help people who are in a hurry to book something and haven't booked something, and there's things available for them here.
Okay. You can just continue.
Thank you. So I'm now found a price, and I feel quite happy about it.
Just before we continue, there's the little kind of link over here that says hold your flights for £5. Do you understand what that means, and would you find that a useful?
Hold your flight. I do understand what it means, but I probably wouldn't take up that.
Are you able to explain what you think?
So what they're saying is they'll give me £5 refundable. They will give me that back if they're holding the flights, then I confirm it within 72 hours. But I would just, if I'm going on somewhere to book the flight, I would just go ahead and book it now. If the price was right, I would go ahead and book it. Otherwise, if I was looking at it and then I was going to compare it with something else, I wouldn't even ask to hold it. I would look at it and think, right, okay, I'm going to another site and look for something else. And it wouldn't matter to me that I might get £5 refunded.
Okay, that's fine. So just continue as to how you would.
Okay, so I'll agree and continue the price.
Oh, so that's the end of that task now as well. So that's great. So I'll just ask you a few overall questions again. So overall, what did you think of that experience?
Well, actually, I found it quite beneficial because you were asking me questions that I would never normally be asked when I was going through something like this. And I found it quite interesting that I do have an opinion on certain parts of the exercise. So perhaps feedback to different companies on where they're going, where they kind of might be going wrong. It's only my opinion, but it might actually help other people. But actually, there's good points to both exercises too.
That's absolutely fine. And how did you find that website? Was that booking? How did you find that booking process, I should say? Did you find it easy to
I actually found that easy to navigate, and I found it easier to navigate than the last exercise because it's actually bolder on the screen. In the last exercise, it was kind of listed at the side, whereas this exercise is all right in front of you as you're going down the page.
And in terms of bolder, is it the kind of layout, or would you say it's the colours or the design?
I actually think it's the colours. It's the colours and the layout. There's nothing to your side to that you keep having to kind of look back and forward. This is all in front of you, and the colours not distracting, and it's kind of black and white rather than orange, white, and black. And no, I found this easy to navigate.
Okay. And was there anything? Well, actually, once again, you've probably answered this, but was there anything you particularly liked or disliked about that process?
As I say, I liked the fact that when I asked for a flight, I was given a few different times and a few different dates. So therefore, me as a consumer, I had the opportunity to change my flight if I felt like I wanted something cheaper. But I was given lots of options about timings and how I could make up a suitable flight for myself.
Okay, that's fine. And was there anything that you expected to see but you didn't on that one?
Not on that one.
No?
No.
Was there anything that you were surprised to see?
I was surprised to see that the option for adding the £14, I can't remember what it was for. I added £14. So that I could travel I could cancel it and travel whenever I wanted, wasn't that visible right at the start when I was booking the flight.
Okay. Is there anything else, or was that?
No, that was fine.
Great. Well, thank you very much. That's the end of both the tests.
You're very welcome.
So yeah, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.